Welcome to your next lesson on wedding insurance. In this lesson, we'll go over what wedding insurance is, will you need it, why you should consider purchasing it, the types of insurance available, additional insurance that is available, what insurance does and doesn't cover, how much insurance costs, and where to purchase your wedding insurance. So, if you're ready, let's jump right in. First, let's go over exactly what wedding insurance is. Wedding insurance protects your monetary investment from circumstances beyond your control, and we will reimburse any expenses incurred. Let's say your wedding venue goes out of business 3 weeks before your wedding and you've already paid them a 50% deposit, or your photographer gets into an accident a week before and now you have to pay twice as much for another photographer. If you had wedding insurance, then you would not have to worry about any financial losses, as your insurance would protect you and allow your wedding to go on. So, how do you know if you need wedding insurance or not? Well, that depends on a few factors. And the way to figure it out is by asking your venues and vendors about the type of insurance coverage they are already covered by. Instead of having overlapping insurance, you will want to see what their policy doesn't cover, and then you may want to protect yourself with some additional coverage. Why would you need wedding insurance? Well, no one wants to even think about it, but you and I both know that, well, I'm just going to say it the only way I know how, and that's because shit happens. Do you want peace of mind in the case that a disaster strikes? If your gown gets damaged, if your gifts get stolen, if a vendor suddenly cancels on you and you have to pay 2 to 3 times as much to replace them, if your dry cleaner loses your groom's tuxedo and he has to go out the night before and get a new one, what will you do if you get your heel caught in the sidewalk as you're leaving your reception and break your ankle and have to cancel or postpone your honeymoon for a while? Insurance protects you from all these mishaps so you do not suffer financially. Now, when it comes to wedding insurance, there are many options for you to choose from. So let's break them all down individually. Liability insurance. Most wedding venues actually now require bride and grooms to have a minimum of a $1 million liability insurance policy to protect themselves from any financial loss in the case of wedding mishaps or vendor incidents. And this is more so in unconventional wedding spaces like museums, parks, and private estates. To sum it up quickly, it basically protects you in the event of injuries or property damage, and it also offers host liquor liability to protect you against any alcohol-related accidents. It also allows your wedding ceremony venue, reception, and rehearsal dinner venue to be named as additionally insured. This type of coverage is the most purchased of all the different types, as the coverage is primary for both you and your venue. Let's go over this next type of coverage, which is cancellation or postponement coverage. And what this type of coverage covers you from is just what it says. If you're forced to postpone or cancel your wedding, then reimbursement is available for any of your financial losses or expenses. Let's say you've planned a dreamy winter wonderland wedding and the night before Snowmageddon rolls in, or maybe that tropical beach wedding you plan on the beach gets canceled because of a major hurricane. If this were the case, you'd be covered and not lose any money because any non-refundable deposits you paid would be reimbursed. What if you or your spouse, God forbid, were to get seriously ill 6 weeks prior to the wedding, or you found out that one of your vendors went bankrupt and you had to postpone your wedding, or either you or your spouse is an active duty military member and will be shipped out 3 days before the wedding? With this type of insurance, you wouldn't have to worry. You would get all of your money back and could start over. It pays the maximum amount for covered cancellation or postponements of the wedding, including lost deposits or other charges already paid or contracted to be paid for you for things like transportation, catering, property and equipment rentals, venue rentals, accommodations, any special attire or jewelry, flowers, photo, and video entertainment expenses. Additional coverage. While liability and cancellation or postponement coverage are the two major types of insurance, there are some additional insurance plans that can cover extra expenses, and this would be for when you're planning a barn wedding in the middle of a hayfield and the electricity goes out, and the only way to proceed with the reception is for you to go out and rent 2 generators at an additional cost of $400. Those additional expenses would be covered. It basically helps for those extra expenses incurred to avoid an otherwise necessary cancellation or postponement. Loss of deposits. Loss of deposit insurance provides you protection and payments for a loss of deposit due to a vendor going out of business or not fulfilling their contractual obligations. In this case, instead of losing the deposit you have already paid them, you would get your full deposit reimbursed back to you by the insurance company. Gifts. Gift insurance provides reimbursement if the wedding gifts are damaged within 7 days of the wedding. Now, if your parents collected all your gifts, put them in their car to bring back to their home while you were jet setting off to your honeymoon, and when they stopped to get gas, someone snatched the card box out of the car and stole your gifts, you would be protected as well. But in that case, the theft would need to be reported to the police. And if wherever the gifts are left, whether it be your parents' home or if they dropped them off at your place and there's a fire, most likely your homeowner's or rental insurance could cover the loss. So that if this is the case, you may not need to get gift insurance. It really depends on the individual circumstances. Photographs and video. This type of additional insurance covers any losses related to a professional photographer or videographer if they fail to appear or one of the cameras gets lost with your digital film. This would be the type of insurance that would help you offset the associated costs. Special attire. Special attire insurance provides coverage for damage or loss to special wedding attire like the wedding gown or the groom's tuxedo. If you and your bridesmaids are finishing up some DIY projects a few days before and your cousin spills a glass of red wine on your dress, or let's say your groom just purchased a suit without any alterations and he bends down to tie his shoes and splits his pants, your insurance would cover the cost to repair or replace these items. And the same goes for any special jewelry. If you purchase special jewelry to wear on your wedding day and it gets damaged or stolen prior to the wedding, you can be reimbursed for those losses. But please note, this does not cover your wedding bands or engagement ring, so you may want to see if your homeowner's or rental insurance has a jewelry floater policy on those items. Your honeymoon. Honeymoon insurance is typically a single trip travel insurance package plan. That plan should include coverage for the unforeseen situations that occur on a honeymoon trip to help ensure the couple doesn't come home with unwanted or unnecessary bills. It can cover a hurricane wiping out your honeymoon destination, flight delays that cause you to miss your connecting flights, and the cruise ship, any illness that occurs during your stay. If you have to abandon your trip 2 days in because one of your parents became ill and you needed to fly back home, or even if you call off the wedding and need to cancel the trip. With honeymoon travel insurance, you can rest assured that any deposits or additional travel costs will be covered and not have to come out of your pocket. And the last additional insurance I wanted to discuss is professional counseling. In the event that you had to cancel or postpone your wedding and it leaves you mentally distraught or severely depressed and your physician recommends professional counseling to help you get through this period of hard time, professional counseling insurance would pay for that professional counseling for up to 1 year following the cancellation or postponement. So what does or doesn't wedding insurance cover? Wedding insurance covers problems with the site or venues, severe weather, sickness and or injury. What it doesn't cover is a change of heart, watches, jewelry or gemstones, and your engagement ring. So, now that you understand a little bit more about the types of coverage available and what they generally cover, I'm sure you're wondering, how much is this going to set me back? But you'd be surprised actually how affordable it really is in the grand scheme of things. Wedding insurance policies can cover up to $5 million in losses. A basic policy will cover the loss of photos, video, special attire and jewelry, your gifts and deposits. and will cost you anywhere from $150 to $550. And this depends on the amount of coverage you want. General liability insurance, which is again the type that most venues require you to have, will cover up to $1 million in losses and will cost around $185. A good way to figure it out is to estimate that if you spend $20,000 on your wedding, plan to spend about $200 in insurance. And if you're spending $50,000 on your wedding, you should plan to spend about $350 on insurance. Where to buy it? Every insurance policy and every wedding scenario is different, and depending on your circumstances like the time of the year, the professionalism of your vendors and venue, how safe you believe your items will be, and what your current homeowner's policy or renter's insurance policy may cover, if you decide you would like to go forward and purchase some protection for your peace of mind, there are a few places you should check out and obtain quotes from. These are some of the best and most reliable wedding insurance agents, in my humble opinion, and whom I've recommended to my clients for many years. My personal favorite is WedSafe, and this is because they are very transparent. They will show you sample coverage, how much you can expect to pay. You can purchase it up to the day before your wedding. You do not need to give them any of your personal information for a quote, and they have the option to name others additionally insured. They're definitely the best for liability coverage. Wedshore. Wedshore is my second favorite and has just as many options as WedSafe, but their website is not as user-friendly, which would be the only reason they are number 2 in my book. But one cool thing about them is they offer other types of event insurance like baby showers, bar and bat mitzvahs, and birthdays. Wedshore is one of the most customizable wedding insurance coverage agents. Markle. While Markle may be a tad cheaper than the latter, they are not as transparent on their website, and you're required to give them your information before you can obtain a quote. Other than that, they have top-notch service and offer superior customer service. And lastly, Travelers. Travelers Insurance is the best agent for destination weddings, in my opinion. When to purchase your insurance. Most companies will issue insurance policies up to 2 years prior to your wedding, and some insurance agents have specific policies that can be purchased 24 hours before. The key here is that for every event cancellation insurance, it is best to protect yourself as soon as you start paying deposits to vendors. This is money you will not get back if you're not covered, as most deposits are non-refundable. Liability insurance can be purchased the day of in most cases, but most venues will want this policy 30 days before the event. But for weather-related events, you will most likely be required to purchase the insurance 2 to 4 weeks prior to your wedding day. Now to go over some important tips to remember about wedding insurance. If you're planning a backyard wedding, check with your insurance company to see if your policy covers any liability. Your homeowner's or renter's insurance may also cover any stolen or damaged gifts. Now, if a relative or friend is hosting the event at their house, their homeowner's insurance and umbrella insurance for very large claims covers liability. However, they should ask their agent about liquor liability and whether they have coverage if a drunken guest causes a car accident after leaving. Know when you will need to get it by and how long it is good for. Make sure you read the fine print and know what is and isn't included in the coverage. Know the type of coverage amount for your vendor and vendors already have. Your venue may have liability insurance of its own, so you wouldn't need overlapping coverage. For example, a banquet hall likely has its own policy, but ask about what does it cover and what does it not cover. And lastly, get quotes. It's always in your best interest to get 1 or more quotes from at least 2 different agencies so you can compare what they offer as well as price to best select the coverage that is right for you. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I'll see you in the next one.